Okay, so this is B Mitch with this week's Super Win, and before I get started, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hope you all enjoy your holidays. Now, on to today's matchup. It is the Zande Warrior against William Wallace. Two guys who won their matchups during their seasons, and William Wallace does own a victory over Shaka Zulu, but I believe that he'd have a tougher time with the Zande due to the fact that the Zande's weapons are superior to Shaka's. Now, that being said, the biographies. Now, Zande is probably the fiercest fighter in Africa, and William Wallace led a rebellion to take back his country and is a ferocious Scottish outlaw and a rebel. Now, that being said, let's get into the weapon comparison for today. Short range is the Madraga curved knife against the Warhammer. Well, this one was actually closer than I thought. The Madraga can take off the head with one blow, but the Warhammer has two sides. One for which is a spike that will go through armor. Of course, that won't be a problem here because the Zande warrior isn't even wearing any armor. Oh, and it also has a blunt end as well for going through heads and stuff like that. It will smash a guy's head with one shot. That blunt side will. So even though both weapons will do a gruesome stuff, provide a kill, I think I have to go with the Warhammer due to the fact that it has those two sides, and it can also be used as a defensive weapon as well, because he can block the Madraga, I imagine, and then take his head off with that hammer. So I gotta go with the Warhammer. Next one is the mid-range weaponry, and it is the Madraga spear against the Claymore sword. Now, this one was actually closer than I thought. The Madraga would have no problem going through the chainmail armor because it's not that good against piercing weapons. And yeah, see, up against piercing weapons, and if you're wearing chainmail, you might as well not even be wearing any armor at all because it's no good. The Madraga is definitely an effective spear. I'd say it was perhaps one of the most effective spears on the show. But the Claymore sword took off 3 heads with one blow. So that's pretty impressive. This matchup is actually pretty close, but I think I have to go with the Claymore sword. Alright, so this next one was actually the easiest edge to assign. It was the Kapinga throwing knife against the ball and chain. This one has to go to the Kapinga. It is the superior weapon at a distance, and the ball and chain not very accurate, so I imagine it get probably just as much kills as it did against Shaka Zulu, because the Zande pretty much is just as fast as Shaka, I would imagine. So I have to go with the Kapinga. Next up is special weapons, and it is the Boto and Pima poison arrows against the Taj and Dirk. This one, pretty close. The Boto and Pima, I think, would go through the chainmail armor because it's a piercing weapon, and chainmail, like I said, not that good against piercing weapons. However, the Taj and Dirk is both defensive and offensive with that spike at the end of the shield and the Dirk knife. So I think as far as this weapon comparison goes, I have to go with the Taj and Dirk because of that combination. Well, that was the end of the weapon comparison, and let's review the edges. Short range, that was William Wallace. Mid range, that was him again. Long range, that was the Zande, and special weapons, that was William Wallace. Alright, so last but not least, who do I think is deadliest between the Zande warrior and William Wallace? Well, this will be a very good matchup to see. William Wallace will definitely have to fight for a victory. Well, I'd say more than he did against Shaka Zulu, because the Zande, like I said, as far as weaponry, is superior to Shaka. But the Claymore sword, I imagine, would have no problem going through the Zande's shield either. So, because the Zande, even though his weapons are superior, he still may not have an answer against that Claymore sword. It's just a very devastating sword, and not to mention that he also has the Warhammer and the Taj and Dirk. So as far as this matchup goes, I love to see it, because this will be a very great battle. If they did do like a Back for Blood one day, they should pit these two against each other, I think. But I think I'll have to side with the Scottish Rebel. Alright, anyway, thank you for watching. This has been B Mitch. Happy holidays, everybody, and I'll see you next week with another episode, and leave any ideas for episode below, and I'll see you next week with another Who is Deadliest.